Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast, normally recorded in our studio at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, currently recorded from our volunteers' homes. To keep in touch with us, use our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, which are all at Q and Review. That's CUEANDREVIEW. Or get in touch via information@qandreview.com. That's information@CUEANDREVIEW.com. Please like and share our podcasts and give us any constructive feedback.
Evening Times Sport, May 17. Rangers skipper Tavernier hailed by Andy Halliday. Report by Ian Collin. Andy Halliday has saluted James Tavernier for the way the inspirational Rangers skipper has led from the front on the club's stunning march to the Europa League final. Tavernier has remarkably scored in the home leg of each of the Govan side's knockout victories, and is just one more win from joining the legendary John Gregg in the history books as a European Cup-winning captain. The fullback signed for Rangers just 2 days after Halliday in 2015, and the pair were teammates for 5 years until Halliday left for Hearts in 2020. And Halliday has heaped praise on his former colleague for the way he has repeatedly proved his doubters wrong while wearing the Ibrox armband. He said, "I am absolutely delighted for him. I think some of the stick he's taken over the years has been baffling. I always felt as a player, if he can take stick despite doing what he's doing, then anyone can. And the goals he's scored. I read he scored 35 in his last 100 appearances. That's not just right, it's just something you don't see. He's had a lot of questions. Is he a captain? Is he captain material? Well, if you score the first goal in every home leg in a European knockout competition, that's somebody who's setting an example and driving from the front. I am absolutely delighted for him, and I'll be absolutely delighted for the club and all my ex-teammates if they go and do it." Meanwhile, Halliday has hailed his old team for their remarkable achievement in reaching tomorrow's final. As the Jambos warm up for Saturday's Scottish Cup final against Rangers, their Hampden opponents are preparing to fly the flag for Scottish football on the continent. Their Seville showdown with Germans Eintracht Frankfurt comes 19 years on from Celtic's UEFA Cup final in the same city, and 50 years on from Rangers' famous European Cup Winners' Cup triumph over Dinamo Moscow across Spain in Barcelona. Halliday doubted whether another Scottish club would reach a European final after Celtic's agonising defeat to Porto in 2003, only for Rangers to repeat that feat just 5 years later. But the 30-year-old reckons the Light Blues' progress to the final this season, seeing off Borussia Dortmund, Red Star Belgrade, Braga and RB Leipzig in the knockout stages, has been simply stunning. He added, "It's been remarkable. I remember Celtic getting to Seville in 2003 and thought you would probably go a long time before you saw a Scottish club do that again. Then Rangers obviously made it in 2008. And I remember thinking I'd probably not see that again in my lifetime. Now we're here in 2022, and they've managed to do it again, against all odds in getting to the final. It has been a remarkable achievement when you look at some of the clubs they've played again. Especially in modern-day football, the financial disparity between these Dortmunds and Leipzigs to us in Scottish football. It's a bit similar to Hearts to the old firm when you look at the league table as well. The job they managed to do to get to the final has been amazing, and amazing for Scottish football. Report by Ian Collin. Evening Times Sport, May 17. Nick Roger asks, can Phil Mickelson one day find redemption after controversial breakaway? I was reading the results of a survey the other day about decreasing attention spans. At least I think it was about decreasing attention spans. To be honest, my mind had started to meander off halfway through the word decreasing. Anyway, the study suggested that 47% of people believe that deep thinking has become a thing of the past. Those of you who loyally read this page, of course, will possibly disagree with that particular section of society. Trying to follow the general thread of the weekly column, for instance, forces you into a cocoon of concentration and sober contemplation. As for the man who writes the thing, well, the likeness to Auguste Rodin's sculpted creation, The Thinker, is uncanny, as I sit in the study gazing at a blank Word document on the laptop, my chin resting on one hand while wrestling with a powerful internal struggle. Can you at least put some clothes on? Gasped a startled sports editor. It's a vision that doesn't bear thinking about. As far as this week's US PGA Championship at Southern Hills is concerned, there's plenty of food for thought. Tiger Woods is back in action again after the exertions of his comeback at April's Masters. He'll probably commandeer about 99% of the coverage in the build-up to the second men's major of the season. What's left will possibly be gobbled up by a man who's not even playing. Phil Mickelson's confirmation over the weekend that he wouldn't be defending the title he won in such heroic fashion a year ago sent a few more shockwaves through a game that's generated so many rumblings recently. The seismometer has pinged itself off the chart. Mickelson, of course, has been responsible for plenty of this boisterous activity. He has not played competitively since his incendiary remarks back in February, when he said he was willing to overlook Saudi Arabia's grisly human rights record in his attempts to leverage the kingdom's vast investment into golf against the PGA Tour. His support for a proposed breakaway tour, fronted by Greg Norman, led to Mickelson being lambasted by his peers, with Rory McIlroy calling his initial comments naive, selfish, egotistical, ignorant. Lefty became something of a pariah as he backed away from the spotlight with all the finesse of a man reversing a forklift truck into 100 crates of eggs. It was also different 12 months ago, wasn't it? At a nifty 50, Mickelson became the oldest major champion in history with his thrilling United States PGA triumph at Kiawah Island. It was his sixth victory in a Grand Slam event, and his most improbable. In the circumstances, it was his greatest too, as he made a mockery of the notion, one backed up by results, that he was slithering into competitive irrelevance on the main tour. The jubilant pandemonium and sea of whooping, hollering humanity up the 18th was a sight to behold as Mickelson delivered a series of cheery thumbs up that would have given the Fawns a repetitive strain injury, while regularly erupting into that trademark goofy grin. It was another of golf's great days, and a timely tonic for the status quo during a period of growing tumult that, a year down the line, is threatening to drag the game through the courts. The proposed Saudi bankrolled Super League was the talk of the steamy last May, but watching Mickelson hoisting the Wanamaker trophy, you thought that money can buy you many things, but it can't buy the history, prestige and greatness that comes with major championship glory. For Mickelson, it was another magical, momentous moment that defines a career. A year on, though, he seems content to fling that exalted status in the bin and accept the easy money in the Saudi pot. Mickelson has entered Norman's LIV Golf Invitational Series opener in Hemel Hempstead next month, even though the PGA Tour bosses refused to grant releases to any player, having stated it would be a violation of their regulations. Despite his admission that the Saudis were scary motherfuckers to deal with, those behind the LIV Golf push for global golfing reform remain so desperate for players with stature and box office appeal, they will still welcome Mickelson with open arms and an open checkbook should he return. None of us know for certain, though, where or when Mickelson will re-emerge. Back in February, he said he was taking time away to work on being the man I want to be, while he also confessed that the pressures of a sporting life in the spotlight had been slowly affecting me at a deeper level. Nobody would take pleasure in the admission of those deeper issues, whatever they may be. Sympathy, though, has hardly been rampant for a man who was plotting an insurrection of the PGA Tour before disappearing from the scene amid great hubris and humiliation. Woods, meanwhile, is due in front of the media today, and his views on Mickelson's trials and tribulations, as well as his own fitness, will be intriguing. Woods knows a thing or two about suffering a spectacular fall from grace. Here in 2022, he's revered like never before. Perhaps his old foe Mickelson will find redemption one of these days too. Wonders Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, May 17. Postecoglou issues don't fret response to contract talks. Report by James Kearney. Celtic manager Ange Postecoglou says that people should not fret over his contract situation, as the Greek Australian has no designs on leaving Glasgow anytime soon. The former Yokohama F. Marinos boss took the reins at the Parkhead club last summer and guided the team to a domestic double in his debut campaign in Scotland, as his side lifted the Cinch Premiership and Premier Sports Cup. Postecoglou was appointed on a rolling one-year contract, and there have been reports that negotiations over a new deal are in the offing. There has been the usual speculation surrounding the terms that will be offered to the 56-year-old, but the man himself remains focused on the task at hand, improving Celtic. Said Postecoglou, "People shouldn't fret about that stuff. That's not what drives me. It's not what I am kind of seeking. I have always been driven by trying to create things that are special and being part of something that lasts. I am at a big football club with 60,000 people here each week. It's one of the most famous clubs in the world. We will be playing Champions League next year and I can win trophies. I couldn't be happier." A return to Europe's top table provides Celtic supporters with plenty to look forward to in the new season. Punters are already dreaming of crossing swords with some of the continent's greatest teams, and Postecoglou is no different. He said, "Have I had a look at the list of clubs in the Champions League? Yes. Who do you fancy? You fancy all of them, because you know it's going to be a tough gig, whoever you get. But it's where you want to be. It's where the club wants to be, and where I want to be. I want us to go into that competition and make an impact. Champions League nights are special at Celtic Park, and I can't wait for them." Report by James Kearney. Evening Times Sport, May 17. Postecoglou named Premiership Manager of the Season. Report by Ewan Payton. Celtic boss Ange Postecoglou has been named the Scottish Premiership Glens Manager of the Season. The Australian gaffer lifted the league title and Premier Sports Cup in his debut campaign in Scotland. Postecoglou guided his side to the title, finishing 4 points ahead of Rangers, as the Hoops managed to regain the crown from their arch city rivals at the first time of asking. Celtic won 29 of their 38 league matches, scoring 92 goals. Postecoglou picked up 5 Manager of the Month awards along the way, and he said, "As I have said before, it is very pleasing to win awards such as this, and it shows we have been doing something right and achieved success. But once again, it has been earned by the whole group of players and staff at the club as a true collective. We will dedicate this one to all our fans who have given us such phenomenal support during the season." Celtic Park on Saturday was just one example of this. It really was an atmosphere like no other, and a day of celebration that really was a privilege to be part of. The club and the fans connected brilliantly again, and the players put on a real show, demonstrating exactly why they are champions of Scotland. Colin Matthews, CEO of Glens owner the Loch Lomond Group, added, "This has been a really significant first season in charge for Ange Postecoglou, where he has rebuilt the side and held off a strong challenge from Rangers to win the title and secure Champions League group stage football for Celtic next season. Celtic's form throughout the season has seen the manager pick up a series of our monthly awards, and there is no doubt he is a worthy winner of the Scottish Premiership Glens Manager of the Season award. My congratulations to Ange and his team for a superb season." Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, May 18. Scott Arfield hopes the Europa League stars align for Rangers. Report by Chris Jack. Scott Arfield reckons it could be written in the stars for Rangers to be crowned Europa League champions this term. The midfielder will line up in Seville with his sights set on the silverware and a place among legendary figures of yesteryear at Ibrox within his grasp. Rangers will pay tribute to the Barcelona Bears on the 50th anniversary of their European Cup Winners' Cup triumph later this month, and victory over Eintracht Frankfurt would be the perfect end to a campaign that saw the club host a series of events to mark 150 years since its formation in Glasgow. It has been a difficult season for Rangers off the park, following the deaths of legendary boss Walter Smith and kitman Jimmy. Both have been prevalent in the minds of supporters in recent days, and Arfield will also think of former Falkirk teammates Chris Mitchell and Craig Gowans in the build-up to the biggest night of his career in Seville. Said Arfield, "I am not superstitious. I used to be when I was younger. But I think there is something in fate, or whatever people want to call it, Obviously, it's the 50th anniversary and the 150th year of the club, and two icons of the club have passed this season. Hopefully at 11 o'clock on Wednesday night, it will all come to fruition, and we will be talking about these things happening. There might be something in that. If you believe it, then that's half the battle. On the night I hope to believe it a wee bit more. Probably people who are no longer with us will be in our thoughts. My best mate Mitch from when we started in 2007. Craig Gowans and his family. These people who were in my journey when it started. And then obviously Rangers people. When I signed at this football club for 4 years, I knew what it meant to people, and they're all there. Everybody that is important to me is going to be in Seville, and I'll be doing it for them. Report by Chris Jack. Evening Times Sport, May 18. Shrewsbury starlet Ben Crompton tracked by Celtic. Report by David Irvin. Celtic are reportedly tracking Shrewsbury youngster Ben Crompton. The 18-year-old has been credited with interest from Parkhead, and Celtic have been put on alert after the youth project rejected a short-term deal at Shrewsbury, according to the Shropshire Star. A report from the paper claims Celtic are among a number of clubs interested in him. It is thought Crompton was well regarded by Shrewsbury academy staff, having played mostly as a central defender for the youth team this season. He can also play in midfield, having been originally signed in that role. And while Crompton, according to the Star, was highly rated by staff and trained with the first team, he was unable to make a matchday squad. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, May 18. Borussia Dortmund loanee admits he's on Rangers' revenge mission. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Borussia Dortmund allowed Ansgar Knopf to go out on loan to Eintracht Frankfurt back in January because they did not feel the young winger would be involved in their quest to win the Europa League this season. The Giants subsequently lost to Rangers in the knockout round playoff the following month, and Knopf has gone on to help Eintracht beat Real Betis, Barcelona and West Ham, and reach the final in Seville. The 20-year-old, who will be deployed at right wing-back by Frankfurt manager Oliver Glasner in the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan Stadium this evening, has been as surprised as anyone in German football at what has transpired in the past 5 months. "It's been an incredible journey since I've been here," said Knopf yesterday, as he looked ahead to the meeting with Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's side. "It was not an easy step at first. I talked through everything with the club, my advisor and my family, but now I'm just grateful to be able to experience it all here. I was told about the magical nights with Eintracht in the Europa League. I couldn't really imagine it at first, but now I have experienced for myself the power the fans can unleash. I have been pleased that I have been able to experience something like this in such a short time in the club. It's a dream for me. It has all happened very quickly. This loan has been the right move for me." Knopf, who is set to remain at Eintracht until the end of next season, admits the surprise defeat that Rangers dealt his parent club Dortmund back in February has given him an added incentive to triumph in Seville. He said, "Rangers have knocked out top teams. They are very aggressive. We have a similar style of play. but their win against Dortmund gives me even more motivation. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure they don't beat us. Despite his youth and inexperience, North has become a potent attacking weapon for Glasgow in the Europa League this year. He scored important goals for Eintracht against Barcelona in the quarter-final and West Ham in the semi-final. Rangers will have to be wary of his powerful runs from deep this evening. The Dortmund loanee will certainly not be in the slightest bit daunted by the occasion, and believes the German side need to approach the match with their Scottish rivals in exactly the same way as the previous rounds. He said, "We should focus on ourselves and not do much differently. We will do everything to win this trophy. It is going to be an open and intense game, like it was against West Ham when both teams were prepared to go into tough duels. It's going to be a tiring game with a lot of running. I expect a heated game with an extremely good atmosphere. We must not be discouraged. We need that carefree attitude that we did against Barcelona and West Ham. We have to play freely. It relaxes me having a nucleus of experienced players around me, guys who played at this stage of the competition before and got to the semi-finals a few years ago. They know how it is. They can encourage us and give us tips. For me, it is the perfect mix, a balance between youth and experience. The fans have also been important, and they will be important in the final. It is a great feeling to play with such good fans cheering you on. Of course, Rangers have great fans too. It will be a good battle, a great fight between the two teams." Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, May 18. Giacomakis says nowhere compares to Celtic Park. Report by Graham McGarry. Georgios Giacomakis is savouring the prospect of playing at Celtic Park on a Champions League night, saying that the experience will eclipse even the fervour of the famed atmospheres in his homeland. Giacomakis played in the Champions League previously when he was with AEK Athens, and picks out a night when Ajax visited the Olympic Stadium in the Greek capital as one of the most incredible occasions in his career. But he says that the atmosphere created by the Celtic supporters since he came to Glasgow is far beyond anything he has seen before, and he can't wait to sample the iconic atmosphere of Celtic Park on a Champions League night when they play their group games next season. And the striker is also convinced that Celtic can compete at such a level. Said Giacomakis, "Playing in the Champions League is something you dream of from being a child. I played in it already for a great team like Athens, but here it is going to be special. It's the top competition a player can participate in. Everyone wants to compete at that level. I love it. I managed to play a couple of games in the Champions League with AEK Athens, and it was a special experience. When you hear that anthem, you lose your mind. It's amazing. The atmosphere in Athens when we played at Ajax was incredible. The AEK fans are insane, and the atmosphere they create is incredible. But I can't even imagine what Celtic Park will be like with these fans. I think it will be crazy. The experiences we have had this season cannot be compared with anywhere. It's not even close." Report by Graham McGarry. Evening Times Sport, May 18. Lee Johnson set to be named Hibs manager. Report by Aidan Smith. Lee Johnson is set to be appointed Hibs' new manager, according to reports. The Press Association say the former Bristol City boss has won the race to be named Sean Maloney's successor at Easter Road. Johnson, who had a brief spell as a player with City rivals Hearts in 2006, has been out of work since leaving Sunderland in January. Hibs had also reportedly been in talks with former Malmo boss John Dahl Tomasson. Maloney was sacked after just 4 months in charge in April. The former Celtic and Scotland midfielder left his post as Belgium assistant manager to succeed Jack Ross in December and won his first 2 matches against Aberdeen and Dundee United. But Hibs won just one cinch Premiership game in 2022 under Maloney, and a 3-1 league defeat against Hearts consigned them to a bottom 6 finish. Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, May 19. Chris Boyd says it will take Kent time to recover from big miss. Report by Ewan Payton. Ryan Kent will need some time to get over his last-gasp miss against Eintracht Frankfurt in the Europa League final, says Chris Boyd. The Rangers attacker got in the end of a Khmer Rouge cross in the dying moments of extra time in Seville. However, the Englishman could not slot his effort past the keeper. The game then progressed to penalties, where Rangers eventually lost 5-4 to their German counterparts. Boyd says Van Bronckhorst and his players can be immensely proud of their efforts, but he admitted there's no doubt Kent will be rueing that miss for some time to come. He told Sky Sports, "The Rangers players can be proud of their achievements in this competition. It just wasn't to be. It is a cruel way to lose a final, but somebody's got to win it. You've got to give Eintracht Frankfurt credit, because the standard of the penalties was very, very good. Rangers gave as good as they got and did enough to win it. The chance that Ryan Kent had, that was the moment where, if it had gone in, it was done. He'll be playing the moment over and over again in his head, 100%. I do it myself with that chance I missed in Villarreal all those years ago. With it coming in a European final, it's a difficult one to take. It will take Kent a while to get over that one. Yes, it was a good save, but from where it was, you'd expect him to score with the talent he's got." Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, May 19. Calvin Bassey earns absolutely unbelievable Europa League review. Report by David Irvin. Calvin Bassey earned rave reviews for his performance in the Europa League final, even as Rangers fell to an agonising defeat. The Ibrox side took the match all the way to penalties with a 1-1 scoreline after extra time, but fell short from the spot. However, Bassey was a standout performer as he excelled in the showpiece final, and Michael Stewart was hugely impressed by the Nigerian defender, who kept the Eintracht Frankfurt attack quiet for much of the night. The pundit reckons Bassey is a major player at Ibrox and has to be kept even if Rangers are to sell players in the summer. Commenting on Twitter, Stewart wrote, "Calvin Bassey is absolutely unbelievable. Can't quite believe how good he has been the second half of the season. They must do everything to keep a hold of him. If players must be sold, then they can't let him be one of them. Tremendous player." Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, May 19. Celtic defender Julian attracting interest from France. Report by Ewan Payton. Celtic outcast Christopher Julian could be heading back to France this summer, according to reports. The central defender is believed to be attracting interest from several League One clubs. The Scottish Sun said Julian's situation at Celtic Park is being monitored closely, with a summer move potentially on the cards. The 29-year-old returned from a long-term knee injury recently. However, despite being back in first-team training, he has been limited to just 16 minutes of action. Speaking on his future recently, he said, "I still have a year of a contract and I'd like to continue playing here, but my priority is to be on the pitch. If the conditions do not change, it is certain that on my side the door will be open to continue my career elsewhere at a club where the coach would be happy to rely on my qualities." Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, May 19. Nick Roger reports temperatures rising as United States PGA Championship action begins in Tulsa. If you think the majors come thick and fast these days, with the next 3 Grand Slam shootouts shoehorned into a 9-week spell, then spare a thought for the global campaigners of the swinging 60s. When Jack Nicklaus won his first US PGA Championship in Dallas back in 1963, he achieved it just 7 days after finishing third in the Open at Lytham. "I went from a 55-degree temperature to a 110-degree temperature," he recalled of that fraught transatlantic turnaround. "I couldn't pick the trophy up. I had to take a towel. I mean, you could have cooked your breakfast on the trophy sitting out there. It was so hot." Things have certainly been heating up in the world of golf recently. In fact, the mere mention of Greg Norman and his contentious Saudi-backed Renegade series raises the temperature to such an extent it just about sparks an emergency UN climate change conference. It is difficult to avoid the various elephants plonked in the clubhouse. Saudi Arabia Norman, the absence of defending champion Phil Mickelson, but the 104th staging of the United States PGA Championship at Southern Hills will offer some respite from the general tumult as we all look forward to an event of luster, history and prestige. This week is all about golf that genuinely matters, not some ruthless cash grab that would make the Great Train Robbery look civilized. There's still plenty of dosh involved, of course. The winner will walk away with over $2 million. The paying punters on site have some eye-opening dollar signs to mull over. It's $18 for a can of Michelob Ultra beer. $18 for a freaking beer, spluttered the 2017 US PGA champion Justin Thomas. Even Greg Norman would gasp at the price. A month or so on from his victory at the Masters, Scottie Scheffler, the world number 1, has breezed into Tulsa with the kind of confident strut that should have been accompanied by a rendition of Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. At least that's how Brooks Koepka imagined Scheffler would appear. "When you're number 1 in the world, you've kind of got that swagger," suggested the double US PGA champion Koepka, who first reached the top of the global pecking order in 2018. As for Scheffler himself, well, the calm, collected 25-year-old is not the gallus type. Asked if he felt like he had more stature now that he has joined the pantheon of major winners, Scheffler gave a nonchalant shrug. He said with a smile of the all-consuming presence of a certain Mr. Woods, "No, Tiger's here, so nobody really remembers that I'm here." Having teed off 2022, seeking a first PGA Tour win, Scheffler is now hunting down a 5th victory of an extraordinary campaign. For all his successes, it continues to be business as usual for the canny New Jersey man. I don't feel any different, he added of his lofty status. I don't get any extra shots this week. You know, it's nice to have the ranking as number 1. It's a tremendous honour. But at the end of the day, when I show up at a tournament, I don't have any advantages over the field. We all start at even par. Scheffler will be one of many to watch over the next 4 days. Plenty of eyes too are being fixed on the resurgent Jordan Spieth, who is aiming to complete the career Grand Slam. It's a distinguished exclusive club occupied only by Woods, Nicklaus, Gary Player, Ben Hogan and Gene Sarazen. But Spieth looks in fine fettle as he makes his latest bid for membership. The 28-year-old Texan missed the cut at the Masters for the first time in 9 appearances at one of his happy hunting grounds. It was the worst feeling as a golfer that I can remember, he said of that chastening experience. The following week, though, he soothed those particular wounds with a thrilling win in the RBC Heritage, before being pipped to the AT&T Byron Nelson title in his own backyard last weekend. In his 6th attempt to complete that career Grand Slam, Spieth has arrived with plenty of purpose. After the historic heroics of Mickelson a year ago, when he became the game's oldest major champion at the age of 50, and life for Lefty seemed simpler, this US PGA has lots to live up to. Major championships, though, tend to rise to the occasion, says Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, May 19. Aaron Ramsey lands Wales call-up, hours after Rangers penalty heartache. Report by Ewan Payton. Rangers star Aaron Ramsey has been called up to the Wales national team for their upcoming World Cup play-off matches. The news comes a matter of hours after the Welshman suffered heartache with the rest of his Rangers teammates in their Europa League final loss to Eintracht Frankfurt. The on-loan Juventus player missed his penalty, which meant that the German outfit were able to run out 5-4 winners at the death. The former Arsenal ace was visibly devastated by his miss, as he was consoled by his teammates. However, he has been named in Rob Page's upcoming Wales squad. They will host either Scotland or Ukraine in Cardiff, with the winner gaining a place at the World Cup this winter. Fellow national talisman Gareth Bale is also included in the squad, and Dundee United star Dylan Levitt keeps his slot also. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, May 19. McCoist admits Rangers' mental fatigue worries ahead of Scottish Cup final. Report by Ewan Payton. Ali McCoist admits he is worried about mental fatigue for Rangers ahead of Saturday's Scottish Cup final with Hearts. Giovanni van Bronckhorst's men lost 5-4 to Eintracht Frankfurt on penalties as they suffered late Europa League heartache. The match went the full distance, with the gruelling heat and pain of the defeat likely to make an impact on some of the first-team stars. And McCoist admits the match against Hearts on Saturday could be a concern. He told TalkSport, "Watching the game, it was as if someone had flicked a switch with 5 minutes to go, and all the players looked shattered. It was amazing to watch as the heat was very intense, and playing in that, it takes it out of you. It definitely had an effect on both sets of players, although I thought Frankfurt tired more than Rangers. There's now a cup final on Saturday. We were talking about it last night, the physical side of it. I think Rangers will handle fine. If you will remember, there was the extra time against Braga, and then we had the extra time when we knocked Celtic out of the cup just after. So in terms of their overall fitness, I think they will be all right. However, I think the mental fatigue of having to get over what happened last night might be a bit of a struggle for the Rangers players on Saturday. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, May 19. Stephen Davis bitterly disappointed as Rangers fall agonisingly short. Report by James Kearney. Stephen Davis admits that last night's defeat on penalties to Eintracht Frankfurt in the final of the Europa League was hard to take. The veteran midfielder came off the bench towards the end of the second half, and the Northern Irishman believes that the team had their chances to win the game. A long shot from Borna Barisic drew a smart stop from Frankfurt goalkeeper Kevin Trapp, and Davis had an effort that whistled over the bar, but it wasn't enough as the Ibrox outfit lost out in the shootout. He told BT Sport, "It is obviously a huge disappointment. Once it goes to that stage of the game, it is a lottery. You are looking to win it, and it's hard to reflect straight away due to that disappointment. We were desperate to send the fans home happy. They have been tremendous for us this whole campaign, and the boys have been tremendous, but it hurts. I thought we were starting to get control of the game in extra time. Borna had a shot, I had a chance. It was also always going to be determined by a mistake or a moment of magic, and ultimately, if that doesn't happen, it goes to penalties, and unfortunately, we were on the wrong side. Whenever you get to a final, it always hurts when you don't come away with a trophy, and this is the same. I felt going into the game with the form we have shown and the teams we had beaten and the way we had played throughout this journey has been unbelievable. I really thought we'd go on to win it. It is a major disappointment, but at the same time, I couldn't be more proud of all the lads, the staff, the fans, and everyone associated with the club. We know how difficult it is to get here. We left everything out on the pitch to try and get a result, but it hasn't happened. It is going to be a sore one to take. We know how difficult it will be to get to this stage again. We've done unbelievable, but I just want to thank the fans again. They travelled from all over the world, and I just want to say thank you to them. It's been a great journey, but disappointment in the end. The 37-year-old Davis was then asked about his future, but the midfielder says his focus is fully on this weekend's Scottish Cup final against Hearts. He added, "I don't want to think about the future tonight. We've obviously got a massive game on Saturday as well, so hopefully we'll get a winner's medal there. But we need to get over the disappointment of this first." Report by James Kearney. Evening Times Sport, May 19. Tavernier proud of Rangers' efforts despite defeat. Report by James Kearney. James Tavernier insists that he is proud of his teammates' efforts after Rangers were defeated on penalties in the final of the Europa League. Joe Aribo put Van Bronckhorst's men ahead in the second leg before Rafael Borre equalised for Frankfurt towards the end of the second half in Seville. A superb stop from Kevin Trapp denied Ryan Kent at the death as the final went to a shootout where the Bundesliga outfit triumphed 5-4. Tavernier admits that the defeat is a painful one, but vowed that the players will be ready for Saturday's Scottish Cup final against Hearts. The Ibrox skipper told BT Sport, "I'm just devastated, but obviously I'm proud of every single one of those lads in the changing room. I'm proud of the club and the fans with the support they have given us throughout this run. We obviously wanted to make everyone proud, but we didn't get it over the line. To lose on penalties, it hurts, but I'm proud of everyone that stepped up and took one. We went toe-to-toe with them. It's disappointing that we took the lead and conceded a goal like that. The keeper obviously made a fantastic save from Ryan Kent towards the end, and then saved a penalty. But I'm proud of every single person who's involved with Rangers. We've got to use this as fuel to push us on. We want to be back in these finals. We've got a massive game on Saturday. We are a close-knit dressing room. We'll get around each other. We'll go and see our families now and recover well. We've got a massive game on Saturday. I know every single one of the lads in that dressing room will use that hurt and give it all come Saturday. Report by James Kearney. Evening Times Sport, May 20th. 3 Rangers stars included in Europa League Team of the Season. Report by David Irvin. 3 Rangers stars have been included in the Europa League Team of the Season. James Tavernier, Calvin Bassey and Ryan Kent were selected for inclusion by UEFA's Technical Observer Panel. Ibrox captain Tavernier was an obvious candidate for the End of Competition award after being top goal scorer from fullback in an incredible European campaign. The Rangers defender, included in midfield in the Europa League Dream Team, netted 7 goals and provided 2 assists in the run to the final. Bassey earned rave reviews for his colossal performance in the Europa League final against Frankfurt on Wednesday. While the Norwegian defender was cruelly on the losing side after the shootout, he was lavished with praise by pundits over his impressive display at centre-back. Bassey has grown into a key player for Giovanni van Bronckhorst, not only in his natural left full-back role, but also in the centre of defence. Rangers' final representative in the Team of the Season is winger Kent. The electric forward appeared to save his best performances for the European stage this season and played a major role in the run to the final. He played 13 times in the competition proper, scoring once and offering 5 assists. Europa League Team of the Season. Goalkeeper Kevin Trapp. Defenders Calvin Bassey, Martin Hinteregger, Craig Dawson. Midfielders Philip Kostic, Declan Rice, Konrad Laimer, James Tavernier. Forwards Ryan Kent, Raphael Borre, Christopher Nkunku. Evening Times Sport, May 20. Greg Taylor charts his Celtic rise. Report by Graham McGarry. It is a sign of both the youthful bent to the Celtic squad and the rising status of Greg Taylor within that group that the 24-year-old would now consider himself as one of the leaders of the dressing room. As well as taking on the challenge of becoming a first-team regular this season, one he has conquered, Taylor is taking on the mantle of helping Callum McGregor keep the rest of the Celtic boys in line and on their toes. The fullback is one of a few deputies working with the club captain to ensure that everything is ticking over nicely, and he is relishing the added responsibility he is now entrusted with by a player he admires so much in reinforcing the fundamentals that have brought Ange Postecoglou's team such success. Said Taylor, I think his consistency over the last 6 or 7 years has been pretty remarkable. The number of matches he churns out at a high level is top class. We are good friends and we don't hide that. But more importantly for the club, he is a top-class player and a top-class captain. He is following one of the greatest captains in the club's history in Scott Brown, and I think he is doing really well. He is the most vocal one, and the one that leads us, but equally there are 5 or 6 of us behind him that try to chip away and keep the group in line and keep doing what has brought us success. We will continue to do that. I'm 24 years old, and I'm classed as the old guard, so it is a bit bizarre. But I think it is a pressure and a responsibility that I have enjoyed this year, being looked at as one of the most senior players. Hopefully I can continue to do that, try to help the others, and try to improve myself. There are few among the Celtic support who would argue against his last point, as Taylor has won over many sceptics this term with his ability to adapt to the unusual demands placed on him by the manager. He said, "I think I have had a successful season personally, but that only becomes possible with the collective, everyone playing their small part in the team. If you do that, then you normally get decent success, and I think we have done that this year. Whether it is the goalie, full-backs, midfielders, everyone has played their part, and that is the reason that we have been successful together. It has been a new way of playing, but it has been one I've enjoyed learning. I continue to try and learn from it, because we know as a team we are not the finished article. We are a good team, but we want to become a great one. Hopefully over the next few months we can do that." This has been a theme of the pronouncements from Celtic since they wrapped up a League Cup and Premiership double last week, with Taylor believing that there is plenty of improvement within the players already in the squad. He has been around the block long enough to know that at a club like Celtic, your place is never assured, and reinforcements will also be recruited this summer as Postecoglou tries to prepare a team fit to compete in the Champions League group stage. Taylor sees that fact, though, not as a threat to his own position, but as a necessary step in the team's evolution. And he said, "I think we need that. We cannot rest on what we have achieved so far. We have had a successful season, winning the double, but we need to progress next year. We want to be bigger and better, and I think by bringing bodies that pushes everyone on again." Taylor's leadership role within that squad may be even more pronounced next season, following the departure of old heads Nir Bitton and Tom Rogic, 2 men who will be missed both on and off the field. Said Taylor, "It was sad. Tom was quite emotional. He got the send-off he deserved. He has been a great servant of the club. He provided massive goals and massive performances. Nir just leads by example. Again, he's one of the senior boys. He has been vice-captain this year and taken on a lot of responsibility and done really well. His last few performances were top class. There will be 2 big misses around the place, but I'm sure they will do well wherever they end up next." What seems certain to be next for Taylor is a place in Steve Clarke's Scotland squad for their hectic June schedule, which kicks off in spectacular style with the World Cup playoff semi-final against Ukraine. "I still have to be picked," he said. "I never take it for granted. Hopefully I get picked, and then it is another exciting period. I'll enjoy the next couple of weeks, maybe get away for a few days, and then I'll be ready to go for the Scotland games." Report by Graham McGarry. Evening Times Sport, May 20th. Scott Gemmell heaps praise on Rangers pair. Report by Mark Walker. Scott Gemmell last night praised Rangers kids Alex Lowry and Leon King and is hoping their first call-up for the Scotland under-21 squad will go some of the way to make up for their Europa League final heartache. The Ibrox pair are among 4 new faces in the Scotland under-21s squad for their double-header next month in Belgium and then Denmark. Dundee keeper Harry Sharp and colleague Josh Mulligan, along with Dundee United youngster Archie Meekison, were also called up, and Gemmell is excited to work with his new faces for the game and praised the Rangers kids, who were both on the bench in Seville, for breaking into the team at the end of the season. He said, "Both Alex and Leon have played for our younger age groups, and we know about them, and they were always on course. But it is good to see them confirm their talent at a very high level by playing for the Rangers first team. That confirmation of talent. You can talk about young players' development and the expectancy with it, but it doesn't always come. But these young players have stepped up and taken their opportunity, and it really is good to see that. And they have got another cup final at the weekend, so that is great experience too." When you speak to the Rangers staff, like Craig Mulholland, they really have high hopes for these players, but they recognise these players still have further to go, and hopefully this international experience can help them. There is possibility and expectation, but you need to see that talent confirmed on the pitch. You need to know you can trust them to play, and there's no better way for the young players to do that than on the pitch in these big games. Gemmell is delighted to be back after missing the past 2 Scotland games with COVID, including the marathon trip to Kazakhstan. He said, "I felt that I was letting people down. You feel stupid when you're sitting at home watching the game when you should be at your work. It's not a nice feeling, but we all know it is unavoidable and could happen to anyone, and I just needed to accept it." The squad is Long, Drogheda United, Sharp, Dundee, Sinclair, St Johnstone, Ashby, West Ham, Clayton, Liverpool, Graham, Dundee United, King, Rangers, Mayo, Rangers, Welsh, Celtic, Anderson, Bristol Rovers, Barron, Aberdeen, Burrows, Coventry City, Henderson, St Mirren, High, Huddersfield Town, Kelly, Rangers, Leonard, Brighton, Lowry, Rangers, Meekison, Dundee United, Mulligan, Dundee, Smith, Hearts, Middleton, St Johnstone, Mebood, Wimbledon. Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, May 20. Rory McIlroy on top, but not getting ahead of himself at the United States PGA Championship. Rory McIlroy vowed not to get ahead of himself as he headed into the second round of the United States PGA Championship in pole position to end his major drought. Since winning the last of his 4 majors in the 2014 US PGA, McIlroy had been a combined 35 over par in the first round of golf's 4 biggest tournaments, his most recent effort being a 1 over par 73 in April's Masters. But it was a completely different story on a sweltering opening day at Southern Hills, as McIlroy carded 7 birdies and 2 bogeys in an opening 65 to record his lowest round in a major since the 2011 United States Open. McIlroy went on to win his first major title by 8 shots at the Congressional and said on Thursday, "It's a great start, but I'm not getting ahead of myself. I did pretty much everything you need to do out there, and I'm going to have to keep doing the same the next 3 days." McIlroy held a 1-shot lead over Will Zalatoris and Tom Hoge, while playing partners Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth were facing battles to make the cut after rounds of 74 and 72 respectively. Woods was 2 under par for his first 5 holes, but struggled from then on, and admitted his right leg, which he feared could have to be amputated following last year's car crash, was not feeling as good as I would like. Spieth needs to lift the Wanamaker Trophy on Sunday evening to become only the 6th player to complete a career Grand Slam. McIlroy made 4 birdies in a row on his front 9 and rallied with a birdie on the 9th, his final hole, after dropping 2 shots in the previous 3 holes. Scotty Scheffler produced a shot worthy of his status as world number 1 and Masters champion to set up an eagle on the 665-yard 5th hole. Tiger Woods may have struggled to an opening 74, but he proved to be adept at multitasking during a wait on the 14th tee. Evening Time Sport, May 20. UEFA issue Rangers apology after chaos. Report by Aidan Smith. UEFA have offered an apology to Rangers fans following chaos within the Seville Stadium during the Europa League final. Thousands of supporters were left fuming after a number of refreshment kiosks were left closed despite the huge crowd inside the arena. Around 20,000 Rangers fans were inside the stadium and were forced to drink water from toilet taps due to the facilities. Temperatures were soaring above 30 degrees at the time of kickoff, and Rangers were forced to contact UEFA regarding the situation. Now UEFA have issued an apology. A spokesperson told the Times Group, even though the quantity of food and beverages planned by concessionaires was much bigger than what is usually served during a domestic sold-out match, it still was not enough to meet the extraordinary demand of the day, and UEFA wishes to sincerely apologise to fans for the inconvenience created. The statement comes as Rangers Vice-Chairman John Bennett expressed his pride in the tens of thousands of supporters who followed their team to Seville and wowed the Spanish police and authorities. Police confirmed yesterday that no Rangers supporters were arrested in Seville after estimating that 100,000 were making their way to the Andalusian capital. 6 Germans were arrested ahead of Wednesday's Europa League final, most of them for being allegedly part of a large gang of Eintracht Frankfurt fans who went looking for clashes with Rangers supporters. Bennett said, "Our fans have come here and they have wowed people. They have wowed people who have known the club and wowed people who don't know the club, perhaps more importantly. We have had feedback from the police, such good feedback from the police, the local authorities of this city and at the stadium, and they have all said one thing, wow, overwhelmed and overwhelmingly positive by our fans' atmosphere, our fans' behaviour, and this is for the fans. Everybody naturally thinks this oven of heat combined with drinking beer and whatever, which football fans throughout the world do, of course, and of course people look and say, is that a cocktail for something that might be wrong? Our fans brought a cocktail of colour, of noise, of positivity. I just want to thank them. I respect them so much. They have carried this club over the last 10 years on their backs and their shoulders. I am so proud of them. Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, May 20th. Robert Page blasts Rangers boss Van Bronckhorst. Report by Aidan Smith. Wales boss Robert Page has blasted Rangers boss Giovanni Van Bronckhorst for placing unnecessary pressure on Aaron Ramsey by selecting him as one of their Europa League final penalty takers. The Ibrox outfit suffered shootout heartache in Seville on Wednesday, with Welshman Ramsey missing a spot kick against Eintracht Frankfurt just moments after coming on as a substitute in the 118th minute. Page has backed Ramsey to bounce back from his misery and says he has no qualms over asking the midfielder to take a penalty in a World Cup playoff final next month, should he need to. But Page suggested Rangers were misguided in putting Ramsey among their 5 penalty takers, saying, "It's difficult because you have to be up to the pace of the game. We see it time after time when you are not up to the pace of the game. It happened recently where the player's first touch after he came on was missing a penalty. It is unnecessary pressure for the player. I wouldn't make the substitution. If it was forced and you have to take a penalty, then you have to get on with it. But there is no way I would play God." Ramsey is on loan at Rangers, and his parent club Juventus raised a few eyebrows on Thursday by tweeting a message of congratulations to Bundesliga club Eintracht. The 31-year-old, who is under contract in Turin until 2023, must now focus on Rangers' Scottish Cup final against Hearts tomorrow. But Page's thoughts are very much on the World Cup playoff final against Scotland or Ukraine in Cardiff on June 5. Having included Ramsey in a 27-man squad for that game, as well as 4 Nations League ties in June, Page said, "I nearly messaged Aaron this morning, but then I thought I would give him some space. I can't wait to get him in the building and back with his mates. I will have a one-on-one with him, but Aaron will be fine. Big players step up for big occasions, and he will recover in a positive way. As disappointed as he will be for himself, and Rangers as well, because they showed loyalty in taking him in and giving him games, he will bounce back." Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, May 23. Scott Arfield savours special Scottish Cup success. Report by Chris Jack. Scott Arfield savoured a special Scottish Cup success as Rangers ended their knockout trophy drought with victory over Hearts at Hampden. Goals from Ryan Jack and Scott Wright were enough to clinch an extra-time triumph and ensure Van Bronckhorst's side were not left empty-handed this term. The Scottish Cup win came on the back of Rangers losing their Premiership crown at the first time of asking earlier this month, and suffering Europa League heartache in Seville last week. It was a first victory in the famous competition since 2009, and Arfield was well aware of the significance of the achievement for the light blue squad. Arfield said, "It feels marvellous. I'm buzzing, delighted, happy, satisfied, everything that winning the cup should be. On the back of last Wednesday, when we fell short with one kick of the ball. This is special as it is a trophy that has evaded us for a number of years, so it feels amazing to lift it. You should have seen the dressing room at the end, as everyone knows the importance of this cup. Domestically, since I have been here in the last few years, We have fallen short, and it always hurts going into the summer. We have the medal and the trophy. In the league we fell short as well, and we only have ourselves to blame for that. In January it fell away from us. In the Europa League final it was down to one kick, and any of us could have done that. To win the trophy feels brilliant, there's no doubt about it. Report by Chris Jack. Evening Times Sport, May 23. Maida's permanent Celtic transfer confirmed as striker moves to Glasgow. Report by James Kearney. Daizen Maida insists he wants to continue challenging himself after the Japanese forward's loan deal with the Parkhead club was made permanent. The 24-year-old arrived in the January transfer window from Yokohama F. Marinos in his homeland and made a quick impression in the starting 11. Maida's relentless pressing quickly endeared him to the Celtic support, and the winger provided 8 goals and 5 assists in 22 appearances for Ange Postecoglou's side. Yokohama F. Marinos confirmed this morning that the permanent transfer has now gone through, and Maida hopes to build on the Premiership triumph he and his teammates achieved this season. The forward thanked fans in Japan for supporting his move to Europe and said, "Even after coming to Scotland, everyone's support has been heartening, and I was able to send good news by winning the league. I said everything I had to say when my loan began, but I want to keep being reckless and continue to challenge myself. Yokohama F. Marinos will always be one of the clubs I love. Marinos' family is the greatest." Report by James Kearney. Evening Times Sport, May 23. The Monday kick-off. Norwich move has stunted Billy Gilmour's progress. Report by James Morgan. Gilmour's next move must be better than his last one. Billy Gilmour signed off from his Norwich City loan, watching from the sidelines due to the ankle injury that has made him a doubt for Scotland's crucial World Cup qualifier playoff semi-final against Ukraine, as his teammates played out their campaign against Tottenham Hotspur. The 20-year-old playmaker remains a talismanic figure for his country, but at club level his future is a great deal more uncertain. The move to Norwich has been a disaster for Gilmour. The Canaries' season started badly under Daniel Farke, as they lost their first 4 matches to Liverpool, Manchester City, Leicester and Arsenal, and got progressively worse as they took until their 11th match to record their first Premier League victory of the campaign. Plenty of fingers were pointed Gilmour's way, with his presence in midfield widely considered to be a contributing factor in some of those defeats, and he was subsequently omitted from the starting lineup by Farke. When asked in a press conference about Gilmour's travails, Thomas Tuchel, his manager at Chelsea, contended that it was up to the player to find a way to overcome his problems. He said, "We thought it was important for him to get minutes. If you decide on a loan, it is as simple as that. And I don't mean it harsh. You need to perform on the pitch if you want to make it back here." Farke eventually paid the price for Norwich's poor form in November, and while his replacement Dean Smith has played Gilmour more frequently, neither player nor club have fared much better. The young Scot has played just 28 games, and his development has been stunted, which raises the question about what happens next. There is a logjam in the Chelsea midfield that will not ease any with Conor Gallagher's return from a hugely successful loan spell at Crystal Palace, which has resulted in a nomination for PFA Player of the Year. With Jorginho, Mateo Kovacic, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, N'Golo Kante already vying for starting time, the position has suddenly become even more crowded, and there looks to be no obvious way in for Gilmour, certainly not on the evidence of his year at Norwich. It seems inevitable that another loan move will follow. Gilmour and his advisers must ensure it is to a club where he is a much better fit. It's a big week for Mark Fotheringham. The Scottish coach was brought in to assist Felix Magath as the pair sought to preserve Hertha Berlin's Bundesliga status. Hertha have been something of a yo-yo club in German football since the turn of the century, suffering numerous relegations in that 22-year period. When they found themselves in difficulty once again in March, they turned to the former Fulham manager and his one-time assistant at Craven Cottage. Magath and Fotheringham sparked something of a mini revival with 3 wins and a draw from their final 8 matches, but last week's first leg relegation playoff against Hamburg, another grand old German team with an illustrious past, ended in a frustrating 1-0 defeat. There is good news and bad for Fotheringham heading into tonight's second leg. The away side on the day has not lost a playoff second leg since 2008-2009. Wins of 7, draws 5. Alas, Hertha themselves have won just one of their previous 12 games on their travels. Stewart can fulfil Kettlewell's prophecy. Ross Stewart will get his chance to prove a prophecy correct next season after his clinching goal in Saturday's League One playoff final victory over Wycombe Wanderers. Stuart Kettlewell, his former manager at Ross County, the club that Stewart left to join Sunderland in January 2021, was in no doubt about his ceiling and predicted that no matter which level the 25-year-old played at, be it Premier League, Championship or international football, he would adapt and eventually flourish. As it is, it will be the middle of those 3 levels Stewart will get to test himself, and as Kettlewell, who said it took Stewart just 4 months to adapt to the rigours of the Premiership following his arrival from Alloa, noted, "I would be keen to see him go again, and I certainly think that he can, whether that is with Sunderland, if they can get promotion, or someone else. I think he can go to another level, and so far in his career, once he has got to a certain level, we have all been thinking he can go again." In praise of ASICS, ASICS, there have been plenty of high-profile athletes expressing concerns over the impact of a life in the spotlight on their mental health, not least in tennis. It is almost a year since Naomi Osaka announced that she was withdrawing from the French Open due to the strain she was under, while Iga Swiatek, who won 5 straight titles and has risen to world number 1, famously hired world-renowned sports psychologist Daria Abramovich, not just to help with her preparation for matches, but also dealing with life on the road and in the bubble of the tour. Sports manufacturer ASICS has taken the idea a step further and has written a provision into the contracts of all of its athletes, giving access to confidential assistance for mental health problems. Not surprisingly, Abramovich has given her backing to the initiative, saying, "Stress and anxiety are at record highs for all of us, including elite athletes. By offering confidential support, I believe we can help normalise what is normal and help them on their journey to a sound mind in a sound body. Stop the Clock. The latest instalment in the series of Things That Grind My Gears About Rugby came on Saturday in the World Rugby Sevens in Toulouse. In a group match between England and Argentina, England's Will Homer ran down the clock by more than 2 minutes before he was challenged to ground the ball for a try. It meant Argentina ran out 19-7 winners, as boos from the stands echoed in the background, a result that ensured both sides qualified at the expense of Canada, who had been tied with the other two on 7 points, heading into the last round of group matches. In the laws of rugby, Law 10.2b states, time wasting. A player must not intentionally waste time, a definition that fails to deal adequately with a scenario such as this one. But Nigel Owens, the former referee, said it should have been incumbent on the official to intervene, saying, "When I was refereeing on the World Sevens circuit, we could tell the player to ground the ball in this situation. I'm amazed the referee has not told him to do so." Fortunately, both Argentina and England paid for their hubris and lost in the quarter-finals. 462. The number of days between Ryan Jack's last goal for Rangers, the winner in a 1-0 Premiership victory over Kilmarnock on February 13 last season, and his opener in Saturday's Scottish Cup final against Hearts. Report by James Morgan.
And that was this week's Glasgow Times Sport podcast, normally recorded in our studio at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, currently recorded from our volunteers' homes with the publisher's kind permission. Thanks for listening.